We'll go ahead and get started. Again, my name is Dave, and I am one of the owners and operators of Homeschool Tracker. And just want to spend a second just to say thank you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know there are plenty of other things you could be doing at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday, so we greatly appreciate you spending some time with us to learn a little bit more about Homeschool Tracker and how you can use it effectively in your homeschool. And here at Homeschool Tracker, that's really our goal, not only to just create products that allow you to be successful in your homeschool, but also to give you the training, the resources, and the support to use those products successfully. So webinars like tonight are really core to everything that we are about. And, all of that we do is to try to empower you to be more successful. So again, thank you so much for joining us. Just a few housekeeping notes. We are recording this session, and when we get the recording back, we'll send each and every one of you that registered an email with a link to the recording so that you can watch it again if you like. And also, we're scheduled to go for about an hour tonight, and then we will have plenty of time at the end for Q&A. So I'm happy to stay on as late as you like to answer any and all of your questions. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's first talk a little bit about what we're going to cover tonight. So what we will start off with is a little bit about where to find help within Homeschool Tracker. If you've been using it at all, you probably noticed that it's a very feature-rich program, and there's a lot of details and a lot of features in there, so I want to make sure you know where to find help. Then we'll do a quick interface tour, just kind of get our bearings of where everything is located in the program. Then we'll talk about subjects and courses and the difference between the two and how to set those up in Homeschool Tracker. Then we'll talk about assignments, which are really core to all of your record keeping within Homeschool Tracker. Then we'll discuss lesson plans, which are a very popular and time-saving feature. Then we'll talk about reports, and specifically the daily task list, as well as report cards and transcripts. Then we'll talk about workflows, and what we mean by workflows are really just how you use Homeschool Tracker on a day-to-day basis. We'll give you some different ideas for that. And then finally, like I mentioned, we will wrap up with Q&A at the end. So let's dive right in on where to find help. I think probably the best place to find help with Homeschool Tracker is right here on these webinars. We do these pretty much once a month, sometimes more often than that. And it's a great place to just kind of jump online, and especially if you have specific questions. Like I said, I'm happy to stay on as late as you like to answer any and all of your questions. So it's a great place to kind of jump on here, get a refresher, and to get any questions answered. Additionally, you can see all of our training sessions and the schedule for those on our website, homeschooltracker.com. And then go up to support and click on Training Center, and you'll see the next scheduled training event. You'll also get links to previous training events. So if you click here, you'll get a list of all of the previous kind of getting started webinars that we've done. And if you click here, you can check out the lesson planning webinar that we did, which is great. If you're at all interested in using lesson plans in your Homeschool Tracker account, I definitely recommend checking that webinar out, the replay of it, because we spend the entire time talking just about lesson plans, how to set them up, and kind of some tips and techniques for getting really great at using lesson plans. This next place that I would recommend you check out if you're looking for help are our Getting Started tutorial videos. So if you go to our help site, which is this help.homeschooltracker.com, right here at the top, these 11 parts, these are Getting Started. This is our Getting Started video guide, and you can jump to any section in here. Each video is only just a few minutes long, so it's kind of a quick way to get help on something specific. And then, while you're here, help.homeschooltracker.com, this is our comprehensive help guide. And it's really set up kind of like a reference guide. So one of the things I like to show people is that when you are in Homeschool Tracker on any screen, I'm just going to jump over here real quick. So here I am in Homeschool Tracker on the calendar view. On any screen within Homeschool Tracker, if you click on this help link up here in the top right, that will take you directly to the corresponding help page for that screen. So this is the help page for Agenda Calendar View, and it has anything and everything you want to know about that page, including relevant links to other topics. So really a helpful guide if you have questions about a specific page within Homeschool Tracker. The other way to use the help guide is to use the search field up here. So let's say I was interested in learning about how to set up days off within Homeschool Tracker. I could just type in days off, and I can go straight to this page here on how to set up a day off within Homeschool Tracker. So really a great guide to give you comprehensive help on the program. And then last but certainly not least, email support. You can email us anytime at support@homeschooltracker.com. We respond to each and every email that we receive, usually within 1 to 2 business days. But definitely, don't hesitate to email us. We're constantly checking that email box. And you can email us questions about the program. You can email us questions about perhaps your specific homeschool situation and how you might use the program in that situation. Happy to give you some pointers on that. If you have billing or subscription questions, you can email us about that as well. So please don't hesitate to email us at support@homeschooltracker.com. Okay, so let's do a quick tour of the interface. I'm just going to go back over here. Just going to go back to the main home screen of Homeschool Tracker. Now, when you first log into Homeschool Tracker, you probably see this big menu here. Now, you can access that menu at any time by just clicking on this little arrow here. Now, the menu is broken up into 5 different areas. In the top left, you have the schedules and planning section of the menu. This is where you'll find the agenda, both in calendar view and list view. And the agenda is just that. It's just it's kind of your day-to-day agenda for you or your student on what you or your student need to do that day. Below that are your lesson plans, which we'll cover later. Then below that is the shared lesson plan library, which we'll also take a look at. Now, the next section below all of this is the student section. This is where you'll find your main student list. This is where you can set grade levels for your students. This is where you can find the grading overview, which shows you each and every grade that your student received over a given time period. This is where you'll find the lesson plans and presets page, which we'll cover a little bit later. This is where you can add supplemental information to your student's transcript, like standardized test scores or activities. The middle section of the menu, this is the reports section of the menu. Now, each one of these reports can be generated as a PDF file, which you can download, print, or email. And you have lots of different options here, things like the attendance report or a course list report. You can generate report cards here, transcripts, so lots of different options there. And then the top right section of the menu, this is the Manage Lists section. And this is really more of a maintenance area of the program. We call it that mainly because you're probably not going to be in and out of this section of the menu very often. It's kind of a place where you go to set something up or to tweak something, but not something that you necessarily need to be in on a day-to-day basis. So for example, if you wanted to create a new activity, you could create it here or edit an existing one. If you wanted to create a new course or edit an existing course, you would do it here on the course list. The library is located here. So if you needed to add additional library items or edit those, that's here. So again, it's kind of where you edit, create, or delete items that will be used throughout the rest of the program. Now, the bottom right section, this is the Your Account section. This is where you'll find your main program options, where you can set up your school profile. It's also where you'll find the subscription and users page, where you can modify your subscription settings or create user accounts for students or other teachers. So that's just a quick overview of the menu and kind of where everything is located. Let's jump back over here now and talk about subjects and courses and really the difference between the two. So subjects and courses in Homeschool Tracker, we like to think of subjects as really those broad areas of study. So things like math, language arts, history, or science, those are really kind of those broad areas that you might call a subject. Now, a course within a Homeschool Tracker is really a specific area of subject, or a specific area of study, rather, that falls underneath a subject. So, for example, Algebra 2 might be the name of a course, and that would fall under the subject of math. Composition 1 would be the name of a course, and that might fall underneath the subject of language arts. Or Physical Science 1 might be the name of a course that would fall under the subject of science. So really you have this kind of hierarchy where you have subjects up at the top, kind of really broad areas, and then underneath those subjects you have all the specific courses that kind of fall underneath that subject. So hopefully that makes sense. But I want to show you an example of how this plays out in Homeschool Tracker. Now, from within Homeschool Tracker, let's just go to the subjects list right here. Again, that's in the Manage List section of the menu. And what you'll notice right away is I have 4 subjects in my account currently: history, language arts, math, and science. If I wanted to create a new subject, I could go to Action, choose Add, give it a name, click Save. Now, you'll also notice that there's not really a ton of other information here because, like I said, subjects are really just kind of a broad container, really. So, for example, if I just open up this history one, you'll notice I could change the name of it. I could make it core or elective. I see the courses that are underneath this subject, and I can make the subject active or inactive. But otherwise, not like a lot of settings per se within a subject, because really, again, they're just kind of containers of where your courses might live. So let's go over to the courses list and take a look at that. So courses, right off the bat, you'll notice I have a lot more courses than I did subjects, right? And you'll also notice that my courses have a lot more information or kind of settings that I could set up. So let's just open this one, Ancient History 1. You'll notice that I can give it a name. I can choose what subject it's a part of. I could give it a course code if I wanted. I could specify how many credit units it's worth if that's important to me, how those credit units are calculated. I could choose a different grading scale for this course. If I wanted to use weighted grading, I could write notes for the course and then make it active or inactive. So again, you can see that each course can have very specific settings from course to course. So for example, if I wanted Ancient History 1 to be to use weighted grading, I could set that up here. But if I wanted Ancient History 2 to not use weighted grading, I could turn that off in Ancient History 2. And then all of those courses would fall underneath that subject of history. Now, why is this important? It's important for a couple of reasons. Mainly, though, if you think about kind of the end goal, if you think about your transcript, for example, for your student, transcripts are generally organized by subject, and then within that subject, it'll show you all of the courses that your student took. So if you want your transcript to be kind of well organized when it's generated, you kind of have to set things up like this so that it can kind of follow that flow. So if you want your transcript to say history, and then underneath history have a list of all the history courses that your student took, then this is why this is important. It's also important because, as you know, each course can have different parameters, like I just showed here, where some courses, you might want to take it pass-fail. Other courses might be an honors course. Another course might be an AP course. And so each one of those courses might have a different grading scale or might be worth more or less credit units. And so that's why, again, it's important that each course has the ability to have different settings like you see here. Okay, so let me go ahead and create a new course so we can see how you do that. I'm going to go to Action and choose Add. I'm going to give this course a name. I'm going to call it Reading 1. And then for subject, this will be Language Arts. I'm going to stop right there because, as you notice, while I was typing that in, Language Arts popped up here. And that's because this is what we call a smart entry field. And you'll see these throughout the program. What they do basically is, as you type into them, it searches the corresponding list, in this case, the subjects list, to find anything that matches what you're typing. So again, if I started typing in Language Arts, it finds Language Arts right away. If I didn't know the name of the course I wanted, I could simply enter in a blank space, and I would see a list of all of them, and I could choose it that way. So I'm going to choose Language Arts, but again, that's a smart entry field. I'm going to leave the rest of these settings here, kind of the default for now, but again, you could set up this course to be however you like. So let's go ahead and click Save. And then I'm going to click this where it says to refresh. And there you go. Now I have a new course called Reading 1. It falls underneath the subject of Language Arts. And that course is all set up and ready to go. So that is subjects and courses. Now, a few things to think about when you're setting up your subjects and courses. We recommend not using the exact same name for both a subject and a course. So, if you have a subject called Language Arts, don't also create a course called Language Arts, because it'll be confusing when you're in the program and you see Language Arts. You're not really going to know if that's the subject or the course. Definitely want to name your courses something much more specific. So even if the course is Language Arts, make it like Freshman Language Arts or Language Arts 101 or something like that. So it's much more specific, and then keep those subject names kind of broad. Now, most homeschool tracker accounts might have anywhere from, say, 4 to 10 subjects. And any more than that, you might want to start thinking about how you're organizing things. But you could have literally hundreds of courses, right? Because over the course of your students' homeschooling career, they're likely going to take many, many different courses. So it's totally fine to have hundreds of different courses, but try to keep those subjects, broad so that those courses can fit in those subjects accordingly. Now, if you see a forward slash like this in the program, that just shows the break between subject and course. And I'll show you what that looks like here. So basically, because we use subjects and courses so much throughout the program, we created a way to kind of consolidate the subject field and the course field into one field. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new assignment here. And when I go to choose the subject and the course, you'll notice that it's just one field. It's not, I don't choose a subject and then I don't choose the course separately. I just choose it all here in one. So again, this is a smart entry field. If I hit the space bar, I can see a list of all my subjects and courses. And so I'll see history here first. And then below that, I see history / ancient history 1. Now that slash shows that the first part before the slash is the subject, and the second part after the slash is the name of the course. So if I selected this, I would be choosing the course Ancient History 1, which is part of the subject history. So it's just like a quick way to be able to see the difference between a subject and a course. So you can see I have language arts here as my subject, and then I have all of these language arts courses below that if I wanted to choose one of those. All right. So let's move on to assignments. So assignments in Homeschool Tracker are really the heart of all of your record keeping within the program. Now, an assignment is, we think of an assignment as a schoolwork task that we give our students to complete. Now, that could be anything. It could be a lesson, it could be homework, it could be a field trip, it could be a quiz, it could be a test, it could be a midterm or a final exam. Anything that we're physically assigning to our students that we want them to complete. And by complete, that means we want to be able to track it over time. So that's why here, assignments are really the heart of all of your record keeping. They're all right here in the middle because assignments, they can come from a couple different places. They could be created individually or in a series, and I'll show you how to do that. Or assignments can come from a lesson plan, and when that lesson plan is scheduled, it creates assignments. Now, the assignments are the heart of all your record keeping because all that information that you put into an assignment, and if you track it over time, the student completes it, a number of things can happen. So all of these things can kind of come out of an assignment. So you can generate report cards and transcripts because of assignments. You can generate attendance records if you have automatic attendance enabled because of assignments. You can generate the daily task list, which shows you kind of your agenda. And all of those other reports that you saw, they pretty much are all generated because of the information that you put into assignments. So that's why they're so important. Now, let's take a look at what an assignment entry field or entry form kind of looks like in Homeschool Tracker. So this is a basic assignment entry field form. And basically an assignment really only needs 3 things. It needs a student, it needs a subject course, and it needs a date. Everything else is optional. Now, that being said, the more information you put into an assignment, the more you can kind of get out of it through all those different reports. So for example, if grading is important to you, if you want to be able to create report cards or transcripts, well, then you're going to need to add in grading information into your assignments. So here we have points possible and points earned. If you wanted to create a time spent report, if that was important to you, then you'll need to start tracking time. And you can do that here using the time spent field or by adding in start and end times and having it automatically calculate the time spent. If you want to keep track of your resources, generate a resource report, what books are used that your student uses, well, then you'll want to use the resource field here. Now, all of these fields then, even though they're optional, the more that you use them, the more reports and the more kind of data you can kind of get out of Homeschool Tracker. Now, that being said, also, just because you can use them doesn't mean you have to, right? They are optional. So, don't create extra work for yourself just because you think you need to. Only, do what you need to do in order to get the result that you want. Okay, so now, let me just go back here. One thing you'll notice here, you have this teacher complete button and student complete button. Okay, so when a student completes an assignment, they can check this box. And when a teacher completes the assignment, meaning they check the assignment, they can check this box. Now, when an assignment is marked complete by a teacher, a number of things happen. Attendance can be recorded if you have auto attendance enabled. The grades are generated and recorded. Time spent can be calculated. And all of those reports that I talked about earlier can be generated. Now, until it's marked teacher complete, the assignment isn't finished. It's not complete. So marking something complete by a teacher is a very important step. Okay, so let's do a quick demo on assignments. What we'll do is we'll create single assignments as well as multiple assignments. We'll add grades to them and we'll mark them complete. And we'll do that both from the calendar view as well as the list view in the agenda. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the main menu here, and I'm going to go to the agenda calendar view. Okay, so the agenda calendar view, if I wanted to create a new assignment, all I have to do is go to Add and choose Assignment Single. Now, this is that same form that we saw earlier. It has a few other fields enabled here, and those are all set up in your program options of the fields that you want to turn on and off. So yours may look slightly different than this. Now, let me go ahead and choose a student. I'm going to choose my daughter, Campbell, and I want to choose a subject course. Again, this is Smart Entry field, so I can just hit the space bar. I'm going to choose Ancient History. And then for activity, this is going to be a lesson. And so when I selected that, again, this is Smart Entry field, so I can hit the space bar and see all of my activities that are set up on the activities list to choose one. I'm going to choose lesson. And then for resource, I can hit the space bar again. This is pulling in all of the resources in my library. I'm just going to pick one of these. PLC stands for Page Lesson Chapter. So I can just put text in here. I'm going to call this Lesson 1. And then for the date, I'm going to use today's date. And start and end times, I'm going to choose 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. in this case. Points possible. I'm going to say this was worth 10 points. And okay, that's it. So let me go ahead and click Save. And there you go. I have an assignment for Campbell for today from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's for Ancient History 1, and it's Lesson 1. Now let's say today came and went, and now it's tonight, and I want to go in here and I want to add a grade to this and mark it complete. Well, I can just double click on it. I get kind of a preview of it here. If I want to edit it completely, I can choose More. And let's go ahead and give this a grade. So let's say Campbell got a 9 out of 10. And I'm going to go ahead and mark it Teacher Complete. Now, as soon as I check that box, you'll notice it calculated the grade of 90%. And now if I go ahead and click Save, a few things happen. So first off, the assignment got a little bit darker in color. That just shows me that it's been marked complete. And then this purple Campbell present showed up here. This is an attendance record because I have automatic attendance enabled in my program options. And what that does is it says, okay, if a student completes an assignment on a given day, I'm going to assume that they were in attendance that day, so I'm going to generate an attendance record. You can change that. You can turn that on and off or set up the settings for it. But it's definitely helpful, especially if you need to keep track of attendance. That way you don't need to create an attendance record separately. So there you have it. I just created a single assignment. I gave it a grade and I marked it complete. Now, when we think about workflows and how people might use Homeschool Tracker on a day-to-day basis, a lot of folks do just this, right? Maybe the night before, or the day of, they might go through and create single assignments for their student, and then at the end of the day, go in, mark them complete, and give them grades. The other way that you can use this is if you go in at the end of the day and kind of log all of the things that your student did that day. So this is great if, let's say, you're using a different kind of planner. Maybe you have a binder that you like to use for planning, or maybe you have some curriculum that already has everything kind of written out in it. Or maybe you're more of an unschooler and you're not really quite sure what you're going to do that day. But at the end of the day, you do know that you want to go in here and log all of the things that your student did and enter in grades and kind of keep track of things. Well, This works great for that as well. At the end of the day, you can kind of come in, create single assignments for everything, put in the grades, mark them complete, and then down the line, you're still able to generate all of those reports that we talked about earlier. So kind of really a great workflow, especially if you're just getting started and want to kind of learn how Homeschool Tracker works and kind of incorporate it into your homeschool. Now, that's great and all to create one single assignment at once, but how do you create more than one assignment at once? Let me show you how to do that. If you click Add and choose Assignment Multiple, you go to what we call the Add Multiple Assignments wizard, if you will. So it's a wizard because as you go through this, you kind of stage through the different steps to create multiple assignments. So first off, you can choose multiple students, which is kind of nice. If you want to create assignments for more than one student, you could do that here. I'm going to go ahead and pick a subject course. Let's just choose Ancient History 1 again. And again, I need an activity. I'm going to make more lessons. And a resource, I'll just pick one of these. And again, I'm going to have these be from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And they're going to be worth 10 points. Okay, now I'm going to continue to day and date, which takes me to the next tab here. And I want these to happen every day. And I'm going to have them start, let's have it start tomorrow, the 13th. And I can choose this option, continue creating items until PLC pattern is exhausted, or continue creating items until and specify an end date. I'm going to choose this first option because I want to show you how that works. And I'm going to continue to PLC. Now, if you remember, PLC stands for Page Lesson Chapter. And if you think about Page Lesson Chapter in this context, it's probably not going to stay exactly the same from assignment to assignment, right? So the first assignment might be lesson 1, the second assignment might be lesson 2, third assignment might be lesson 3, and so on. So what we've done is we've created an auto increment tool that allows you, as you're creating multiple assignments, to automatically increment the PLC as it creates those assignments. So I'm going to choose a 1-part auto increment. And the leading text is going to be lesson. And I'm going to start with lesson 2, because if you remember that single assignment we created earlier, we called it lesson 1. So I'm going to create lesson 2. And I'm going to end with lesson 4. Okay, and I'm going to increment by 1. So what this is going to do is it'll create essentially 3 lessons. It's going to create lesson 2, lesson 3, and lesson 4. And so let's go and continue to preview. So this is just that, it's a preview. So it's showing me that it's about to create an assignment for Wednesday, and that's lesson 2. And it's going to create one for Thursday, which is lesson 3, and one for Friday, which is lesson 4. So if I'm good with all that, I can go ahead and select these and then choose Accept Selected Items. And there you have it. Now I have 3 new assignments, lesson 2, lesson 3, and lesson 4. And I did that rather quickly. Now I could have done that for an entire week or 2 weeks, however many lessons or, however many assignments I wanted to create. I could do that from that wizard. So pretty quick and easy way to create multiple assignments at once. So that's kind of how you would create assignments, mark them complete from the calendar view here. Just a quick kind of overview of the calendar. Up here at the top, these blue tabs, these are your filters. So if I change anything on here, it will just filter what I'm viewing in the calendar. So if I wanted to view only specific students, I could do that. If I wanted to only view certain types of items, so for example, if I turn off attendance, now I'm not seeing that attendance record anymore. It still exists, but I just turned it off so that I don't have to see it. I can set it to view just specific completion status, or I can view just specific subjects and courses. Below that is an export to PDF button, which is great. If I hit that, it will generate a PDF file of what I was viewing there. So this is cool if I want to print this or email it to somebody. That's a handy feature. Below that are just the kind of navigation of moving around it on the calendar. I can view things by day, by week, by work week, month, kind of in an agenda format or in a horizontal timeline. And then on the bottom here, it says show full day. So if I click that, now the day starts at midnight and goes to midnight. Or I can choose show school hours. And in my case, my school hours are set up from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can change your school hours in your program options. And that's just a quick overview of the agenda calendar view. Now let's go take a look at the list view. So if I go to agenda list view, now the list view and the calendar view, they're the same agenda, right? It's all the same information, it's the same data, but you're just viewing it differently. Because from the calendar view, there's only so much you can do in a calendar format. You can see or edit one assignment at a time. You can kind of view it in context with each other, which is great. But the list view provides you other abilities. So for example, right here, I'm viewing all of those assignments and that attendance record. So here's that attendance record, and here are my 4 assignments. And kind of at a glance, I can see that, these 3 assignments haven't been marked complete yet. This one has been, and it has a grade. But that's something that I can kind of see quickly at a glance because I'm looking at it in the list view. The other nice thing about the list view is I can edit more than one item at a time. So let's say I wanted to edit these 3 assignments. I could just select those and choose Action, Multi-Edit. And let's say I want to give these a grade and mark them complete. I can change this to, let's say Campbell got 8 out of 10 on all of these, and I'm going to go ahead and mark these complete as well. Click Save. And there you go. Now each one of these now has a new grade of 80%, and it also created attendance records for each one of those because again, I have auto attendance enabled. So really kind of flexible editing tools here in the list view. The other nice thing about the list view is you can view your data in a number of different ways. So here on the left, these in this green column, these are your filters, just like we had in the calendar view. So if I wanted to view just specific students, I could do that here, or just specific subjects or courses. In the middle section here, this is the data itself. So if I want to sort by one of these columns, I could just click on this and sort it ascending or descending. I can also group by column. So for example, let's say I want to group by type. I'll just drag this up to here. And now I have all my assignments together and I have all my attendance records together. So that's pretty handy. And then finally, you can search in here too. So if I wanted to just search real quick and find anything that said lesson in it, I could find that as well. So really kind of flexible and powerful tools here within the agenda list view. Okay, so let's head back here and just recap. So what we did is we created single and multiple assignments. We added grades to those and we marked them complete. And we did that both from the calendar view as well as the list view. Okay, so now let's jump into lesson plans. Now lesson plans are a very popular and time-saving feature within Homeschool Tracker. But again, they are optional, right? Homeschool Tracker is great because it has all these cool features and different ways you can use it. But again, it really comes down to what do you need in your homeschool? What are you comfortable with? And if you're just starting out, kind of maybe just get your feet wet and work into, some of these more advanced features. Now, it's important to understand what a lesson plan is within Homeschool Tracker. Now, a lesson plan is essentially a sequence of items that have not yet been scheduled as assignments. So this is perfect if you want to plan everything out in detail all at once, or if you have a predefined curriculum, say maybe an off-the-shelf curriculum that you purchased. Now, the nice thing about these is that they're not tied to a particular student. So that means they can be reused over and over again throughout your homeschooling career. So for example, if I created a lesson plan for freshman biology for my oldest student, when my younger students take that course, I could just pull up that lesson plan and it's ready to go. I don't have to recreate all of those again. The other nice thing is that these lesson plans can be shared and imported using our shared lesson plan library. So our shared lesson plan library has over 1,000 lesson plans that have all been created and shared by other Homeschool Tracker users. And a lot of these lesson plans are based off of off-the-shelf curriculum. So lots of options in there. This is also great if, let's say, you are part of a group or a co-op, and you could have one member create a lesson plan and share it with everybody else. So really flexible. So let's take a look at what a lesson plan looks like. What we'll do is we'll see an example lesson plan. We'll create a simple one. We'll import one from the shared lesson plan library, and then I'll show you how to schedule lesson plans and create assignments out of them. And we'll also discuss presets. Okay, so let's jump over here. And what I'll do is I'm going to go to the lesson plan screen here. Now, if you are brand new to Homeschool Tracker, you probably don't have any lesson plans currently in your account. So you would need to create one or import one. But I just want to show you one first. So I'm going to choose this Abeka Arithmetic first grade lesson plan that I have here. And first off, you'll notice is that this page here looks a lot like the agenda list view. And that's because we use a lot of the same paradigms. So here on the left, in the purple, these are your filters. And then the data is here in the middle. And now, each one of these items in the lesson plan, these also look a lot like assignments, right? But they're not. They're lesson plan items. And so what that means is that if I open one of these, you'll see that this looks a whole lot like an assignment, except it's missing a few things, right? It's missing a student, and it's missing a date. So you could almost think of this as kind of a assignment template, right? I like to think of lesson plans as kind of like a stack of paper that you have on your desk, and each one of those sheets of paper is a different lesson. And when I want to assign a lesson to a student, I'll take that piece of paper off the stack, I'll go make a copy of it, and I will give that copy to my student as their assignment. And I'll put the original back on the stack of paper, and it always stays there and it's ready to go whenever I want to use it. So you can almost think of a lesson plan like that stack of paper. And that's great because it means that I can craft that stack of paper. I can spend my time to make it just perfect. I can put it in just the right order. I can have everything ready to go. But I don't need to know who it's for yet, and I don't need to know when that student is going to actually use it. So that's what this is right here. This arithmetic lesson plan is just that. If I look at it, it's 171 days worth of lessons, 202 items in total. And they're all in a very specific sequence. They all have different information in each one of these items, but it's not for anybody yet. But let's say my daughter Campbell is ready to take this course or ready to use this lesson plan. I can just grab this first one and assign it to her, and she's ready to go. So that's really what a lesson plan is. That's why it's powerful, and that's why it's helpful within Homeschool Tracker, because it gives you a way to kind of do a lot of work up front and then save you a lot of time down the line. So let's just look a little bit closer at this lesson plan. You'll notice that on day one of this lesson plan, we are doing lesson 1 in this curriculum, and that's worth 0 points. And then day 2 is lesson 2, and so on and so forth. When we get to day 12, it looks like we take an oral test that's worth 100 points. It looks like we take another test that's also worth 100 points. And then this pattern kind of continues for a while, right? And like I mentioned, it goes for 171 days. So you have an entire year's worth of arithmetic lessons here that you can use at any given time. So that's what a lesson plan looks like. I did notice it looks like a few questions are coming in. And like just so you guys know, I will answer all those questions at the end. So I know it's probably relevant to what we're looking at now, but I'll definitely circle back to make sure that we get all your questions answered. Okay, so that's what that's what a lesson plan looks like. Let's create a very simple lesson plan so we can see how this works. I'm going to go ahead and click on Add, and I'm going to choose Add Multiple. Now, when I go to Add Multiple, this looks a lot like that Add Multiple assignment wizard, right? Because again, lesson plan items look a whole lot like assignments. Now, it's going to want to create new lesson plan items for the lesson plan that I was just looking at. But if I want to create a new lesson plan altogether, I can just type a new name in here, and it'll create, it'll create the lesson plan when I save it. So I'm going to create a sample plan, and it'll be for Ancient History 1, and these will be lessons, and I'll pick a resource, and they'll all be worth 10 points. Okay? Then I'm going to continue to day numbers. I'm going to start on day 1, and I'm going to increment by 1. Then I'll go to PLC. I'm going to do a 1-part auto increment. This is very similar to what we did earlier, right? And I'm going to choose lesson as the leading text, and it'll start with 1 and end with, let's go to lesson 15. Now I'll continue to preview. So here's a preview of all the items I'm about to create. You'll notice on day 1, we do lesson 1, all the way through to day 15, we do lesson 15. So I'm going to go ahead and select all of these and then choose Accept Selected Items. And now we're back here on the lesson plan page. So I'm going to go ahead and open that sample plan. And here it is. This is the sample lesson plan that we just created. It's 15 days, and it goes from lesson 1 to lesson 15. Now, let's say I want to create, I want to add a test at the end of this. Let's go ahead and choose Add Single, and I will pick Ancient History 1, and this will be a test. And it'll be on day 16, be worth 100 points. Okay, and I'll click Save. And there we go. Now we have a test on day 16 worth 100 points. Now I could continue this process to, add everything I needed for the entire year. I would recommend, if you are creating lesson plans that are very involved and are for an entire year, for example, definitely check out that lesson planning webinar that we did. And because we show you a bunch of cool strategies and techniques for creating those really efficiently. But there you go. I just created a very simple lesson plan, and this is ready for use if I wanted to. Now, next thing I want to do is I want to import a lesson plan from the Shared Lesson Plan library. So if I go to the menu and choose Shared Lesson Plans, I go to the Shared Lesson Plan library. Now, if I want to just see all of the lesson plans in there, I can just enter in a blank search here and click Go. And I can see all of the lesson plans that have been added by other users. Now, this is just a running list of them. And like I said, last time I counted, there's over 1,000 of them. And you'll notice as we just kind of scroll through here, a lot of them are based off-the-shelf curriculum. Some of them have notes, kind of details about what the lesson plan is. But I recommend, if you're looking for something specific, just to enter in a search here. So I'm going to search for reading. And I want to go and find this Usborne First Reading Level 1 plan. So I'm just going to click on that. And here you go. This is a 15-day lesson plan. And you'll notice that there's resources attached to each item. There's specific PLC information. Somebody took the time to create this, which is great. So let's say I want to import this into my account. I can choose Prepare for Import. And first thing I need to do is give it a name for my use. I'm going to call this Reading 1. And then I can choose which items I want to import. In this case, I want to import all of them, so I'm going to select all. And then before I accept the selected items, I noticed a few things here. So first off, for subject course, it just says language arts, right? And so we know that if I imported that, if I use this, it's just going to be for the subject language arts. But I want these items here to be for that new course that we created, Reading 1. So I could import this and edit it later, but I can also edit it right now. So I'm going to choose Action, Multi-Edit. And I'm going to change the subject course to Language Arts / Reading 1. Okay? And I'm going to click Save. So there we go. That's updated. The other thing I noticed, I see this asterisk and it says New next to these items. What that means is that those items, they don't exist in my current account. But when it imports them, it's going to create it for me, which is great. So with all of these selected, I'm going to choose Accept Selected Items. And here we go. Now we are back on the lesson plan page, and we have Reading 1 loaded up. And this is that lesson plan, the Usborne Reading Level 1 lesson plan that we just imported. And now here it is in our account, ready for use. So let's go ahead and use it. So now that we have a lesson plan, we've imported it from the Shared Lesson Plan library, or we've created it from scratch, let's go ahead and schedule it for our student. So what I can do is I can schedule one or more than one item at a time. I'm going to choose the first 5 here. And then I'm going to choose Action Scheduler. So I can choose who this is for. I'm going to schedule these for Campbell, and then continue to day and date. And I want these to happen every day from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And I'm going to have the start date be, let's just do Monday of this week, just so I can have it all on one week here. And I'm going to continue until all selected items in lesson plan are used. If you recall, I selected 5 of them. So it'll continue basically through Friday, because it's going to use 5 of them, because I'm choosing to select just to use the selected items in the lesson plan. So let's continue to preview. And again, this is just a preview of what it's going to do. Day 1 in the lesson plan will be on Monday, and this is the item there. Day 2 will be on Tuesday, and so on. So let's go ahead and select these. And so again, back to that visual, right? If I've got a stack of paper, in this case, there's 15 days, right? So it's 15 sheets of paper. What I'm doing right now is I'm taking those first 5, I'm walking down to the copy machine, and I'm creating copies of those. And then I'm going to give them to Campbell and say, do this one on Monday, do this one on Tuesday, do this one on Wednesday, do this one on Thursday, do this one on Friday. And I'm going to take those 5 originals, I'm going to put them back on the lesson plan so that they're there for the next person. So that's kind of what we're doing here. We're just doing it in a very digital form. So now let's go ahead and accept the selected items. So now I'm literally passing them out to Campbell, right, for each day. And so here I am back on the lesson plan, and they didn't go anywhere, right? Those first 5 days are still there. So this is totally intact for the next student or whoever. But if I go to my agenda, you'll see that Campbell has 5 new lessons here, or 5 new assignments, right? Monday, she's doing day 1 of that lesson plan, which is very specific. It has, all these details here. On Tuesday, she's doing day 2, and then so on. So there you can see how we took a lesson plan that we literally just imported from the shared lesson plan library, and now we've assigned it to Campbell for the first 5 days here. So some really powerful stuff when it comes to lesson plans. And when you think about workflows, you could absolutely create a lesson plan for a course or for your student and schedule 5 days at a time, maybe Sunday night or Monday morning, you go in, you schedule your lesson plan, and then you go about your week. And then at the end of the week or at the end of every day, you go in, mark those complete, give them grades, and you're good to go. So that's how you would schedule a single lesson plan. And I'd like to think of that as kind of our basic scheduler, okay? We also have a more advanced scheduler, which allows you to schedule more than one lesson plan at a time. So I'm going to show you that next. So if we go to the lesson plans and presets page here under the students section of the menu, it's going to load up Campbell's kind of active lesson plans for this advanced scheduler that I want to show you. So this page always takes a little bit longer. Here we go. So she currently has 6 lesson plans that she's using in the advanced scheduler. I'm going to go ahead and click on edit because I want to add in that new plan, the reading 1 plan. So let's go ahead and check the box for reading 1. And now I'm going to go to preset. Okay. Now you don't have to use presets to use the advanced scheduler, but I want to show you what presets are because they are super cool. So when I'm out here on presets, you'll notice that this looks like a calendar, right? But it's just Sunday through Saturday. There's no dates here because what presets are they are preset times or preset blocks of time for when I want the scheduler to schedule specific subjects and courses. So right now you'll notice that Monday through Friday from 9 to 10 a.m. I have Ancient History 1 kind of as a block here as a preset. From 10 to 11 I have spelling. I'm just noticing that spelling is probably not a good name for a course, okay? So because it's too broad, it's not specific enough. So maybe I'll change that for the next example. And then from 11 to 12, I have arithmetic first grade on Monday and grammar on Tuesday and so on. So I'm going to create a preset for reading 1. I'm going to choose add, and now I can pick the subject course. So let's just type in reading 1. And I want this to happen every day from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. I'm going to choose it to happen Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. There you go. Now I have a preset from 3 to 4, Monday through Friday. So now when I go to the scheduler, and again, this is our kind of advanced scheduler, I can tell the scheduler, rather than pick specific times or days, I can tell it to look for the preset and to schedule those items on those preset times. So this is the advanced scheduler because I can select more than one lesson plan. So I'm going to have all 7 of these selected, okay, for Campbell. And I'm going to choose continue to day and date. Now, under the day options, rather than choosing daily or weekly or monthly, I'm going to choose preset. And when the scheduler runs, it's going to look at those presets and it's going to match up the items accordingly. So choose preset, and now I need to choose a start date. I'm going to choose next Monday, and I'm going to continue until next Friday. Okay, so I'm only going to schedule next week, those 5 days, because I want to show you kind of what an entire week looks like. Now I'll continue to preview. And here we go. This is a preview of 45 items that it's about to schedule from those 7 lesson plans across an entire week. So just kind of looking at these closely, you'll see on Monday from 9 to 10, we've got Ancient History 1. This is Chapter 5. From 10 to 11, there's a review for spelling. If I go down to 3 to 4 p.m., here's Reading 1, Day 6, Child Read Aloud. Now you'll remember it's picking up Day 6 here because we already scheduled the first 5 days for this week, right? It remembers where you left off. So it knows that Campbell is on Day 6, and so it's going to schedule Day 6, and it's scheduling it at the preset time that we asked for. And this goes out, through the rest of the week, all the way through Friday. So let's go ahead and select all of these and choose Accept. So now it's literally creating all those copies, right? It took the next 5 days off of the top of each one of those stacks of paper. It's running copies right now, and it's putting them in Campbell's mailbox, for Monday through Friday, and it's putting all the papers back. I like to kind of think about it in those terms. Hopefully that's helpful in terms of visualizing it. So now it's going to load back up here. And so now let's go to the calendar and look at Campbell's agenda. Okay, so this was this week, right? We already had seen this. Let's go to next week and see what it looks like. There you go. So these are 45 assignments on Campbell's agenda for next week, all at very specific times and all very specific lessons, for exactly where she left off for each one of those lesson plans. So really powerful stuff. Like if you think about workflow, and a lot of folks I know do this that use homeschool trackers, they'll create lesson plans for all of their courses, maybe during the summer, at any time really. And every week, they might come in here on a Sunday night, load up all 7 or 10 or however many lesson plans they're using, schedule their entire week for their student, and then just go for it. Now, there may be a tendency, this temptation to schedule like your entire year in advance. We recommend just scheduling like a week or 2 at a time. That gives you the most flexibility, allows you to reschedule things easily. It also allows you to speed up or slow down depending on how quick your child is going. There's no real reason to schedule the entire year at once because, like I said earlier, Homeschool Tracker remembers where you left off. So if you schedule the whole year at once, essentially you created like 100 copies from the copy machine and put copy 100 days from now. That's not like necessarily the wisest thing to do because you don't know what's going to happen 100 days from now. You might decide to go on a vacation, you might decide to take a day off, whatever it might be. So rather than constantly having to shuffle those copies around, it's much easier just to make 5 copies at a time and hand them to your student, right? So that's how we like to think about it from a kind of philosophy perspective. Okay, so let's jump back here just to kind of recap. We saw an example lesson plan, if you remember, the Abeka arithmetic plan. We created a simple lesson plan, that sample plan. We imported a lesson plan, the Usborne Reading Level 1 plan. And then we scheduled a lesson plan using the simple scheduler. Then we scheduled 7 lesson plans using presets using the advanced scheduler. So we've covered a lot of different things with lesson plans. So very briefly, let's just talk about reports. So reports, like I mentioned earlier, they can be created as PDF files that you could save, print, or send out. And the daily task list, this is a great report to use on a day-to-day basis. It'll show you kind of a printout of essentially what's on your agenda for the day. And transcripts and report cards, those can be generated as long as you have at least one completed and graded assignment in a course. So I want to show you the daily task list first. Let me just close this. From the report section of the menu, you can choose Daily Task List. Now, there are a lot of different options here that you can check. I'm just going to kind of keep things the default for right now. But I want to create a daily task list for next week, the 18th through the 22nd. So all 5 days, those 5 days that we just scheduled. And I'm going to generate the report. And I'll pick up the report. That downloads a PDF file. And here it is. So this is a daily task list for Campbell for next week. And what you'll see is kind of just a running list of all the things that are on her agenda. So from 9 to 10, she has Ancient History 1, and it gives her all the details for that assignment and so on. Then it goes into Tuesday and into Wednesday. So all 45 of those assignments, they're all here on this list. So this could easily be printed out. You can put it up on a bulletin board, or put it on her clipboard so that she kind of has everything ready to go. So that's the daily task list. Definitely a powerful and handy tool, especially if you like to print things out. Okay. So we won't cover transcripts and report cards in great detail tonight, just because I don't have a lot of graded assignments in our account. But like I said, as long as you have at least one completed and graded assignment in a course, it will show up on a transcript or report card. Okay, so just to recap a little bit on workflows, we showed you a lot of different things tonight in terms of how you could use Homeschool Tracker on a day-to-day basis. You could absolutely create and complete single assignments each and every day. And this is great, especially if you're just starting out, or if you want to use Homeschool Tracker as purely a logging and tracking tool. You could go in at the end of every day and just kind of put in all the things that you did that day. You can also kind of do more advanced workflows with lesson plans that we talked about. You could schedule all of your students 1 week at a time if you like to use lesson plans, and especially presets as well. So a lot of different ways to use Homeschool Tracker, and that's really kind of the beauty of it. It's really this kind of open platform that gives you all of these different tools that you can use however you wish. I just showed you a few examples of how folks might use Homeschool Tracker, but really it comes down to what's important to you, how you like to work, and ultimately what you want to get out of the program at the end. Like I said before, if transcripts are your goal, then you want to make sure you set up your subjects and courses well. You want to make sure that you're keeping track of your grades and all of those things, and you're using the correct grading scales for different courses and all of that. If you need to send timesheets or time spent reports to your state, for example, then you want to make sure that you're using that time spent field and you're keeping track of everything there. Or if you need to send attendance reports, you want to make sure that you're using those attendance records. So for everybody's different use cases, Homeschool Tracker will be used differently. It's really important to kind of think about that before you just dive in, so that you know kind of what is going to be important to you. And if you have any questions on that, like I said before, absolutely email us and we can help guide you along. So with that, let's go ahead and turn it over to Q&A. If you have any questions at all, feel free to submit those using that Q&A button. It looks like there's a few questions in there already. Let's see. Lynn asks, how do you mark it complete once it's in the calendar? I'm pretty sure Lynn asked this when we were creating assignments. So Lynn, if you still have a question about that, feel free to resubmit that. But we showed you from the calendar, you can mark an assignment complete rather easily. Let's just load this up here real quick. And let's say open up this assignment. One trick of this is if I click on this assignment, I can mark something complete right here from this screen. I can just click on Teacher Complete and boom, it's done. If I wanted to give it a grade or kind of edit things, actually, it would have asked me a grade if this one had grading turned on. So if I go to more, I can see that there's nothing possible here. So it didn't ask me for a grade. But that's how you would mark things complete. You can either do it just from this pop-up screen here, or you can click on more and just check the box for complete. Lynn also asks, how does the lesson plan get into your calendar? I think you asked that, again, when we're in the process of doing that. So feel free to ask that again if you still have questions on that. And Lynn also asked, will the program remember where you left off importing lesson plans? Yeah, it does, absolutely. And I think I showed you that as well. I want to show you how it does that specifically. So if I go to lesson plan, and this is that Usborne reading level 1 lesson plan. We call it reading 1 here. If I want to see where my student is in this lesson plan, all I have to do is go to options, I think. Hang on one second. Okay, yeah. So if I go to options and choose columns, Wait a second. Okay, sorry. Sorry, it took me a second here. I don't do this that often. All right, here we go. So if I want to see where it left off, I go to displaying. Right now it's displaying all items. If I click here, I can choose used by student. Okay. And I can choose Campbell or Manning, whoever I want. And I can choose, do I want to see which ones have been used or not used or both? I'm just going to choose both. So when I do that, these other columns are added here, used and used date. So Campbell has used days 1 through 10 already of this lesson plan, and it tells me what date those were assigned. So I know now that the next one that she's going to take is day 11. So that's where you can see where your student is within the lesson plan. Also, this is helpful if, for example, you need to change this for any reason. So let's say you scheduled a bunch of lesson plan items and then you deleted them, say, from their agenda, the assignments, and you wanted to reschedule them again or schedule them again. You might need to go in here and see where you left off and kind of do that manually, or you can change the used status here. Right now, these are all status yes for used. If I wanted to change this to unused, I can just select it and choose action, set used status, and I could change it to not used. And that would basically change where Homeschool Tracker thinks that Campbell left off on the lesson plan. Okay, so hopefully that answers question. Angela's asking, is there a preset list of holidays to import them as days off, or do they need to be entered manually? That's a great idea, Angela. I think that might be something that we could add in the future. But as of now, no, there's not a preset list of holidays. You do have to enter those manually. For most people, there's certainly government holidays and some kind of standard holidays, but we allow you to just enter in whatever holidays or days off that you like manually. Let's see. Eliza's asking, how can I reschedule all my assignments, i.e. move every math assignment ahead by, say, 2 days and not just add that assignment to the next day? In other words, how do I shift all the assignments in case of an illness or needing to slow down the work? That's a great question, Eliza. Let me go ahead and show you how to do that. So I'm going to jump over here to the calendar view. Okay. Now, the easiest, and basically your question is about rescheduling. So I'm going to kind of show you how to reschedule things. The easiest way to reschedule, say, a single assignment is just to click and drag it, right? I can just move that and essentially it's rescheduled. But what Eliza's asking is, how do I reschedule all of these? Like if I want to take this whole week and move them down an entire day, how do I do that? I'm just going to change this back. How do I do that? Well, that would be really hard to do from the calendar view, right? Because I have to drag all these around and keep track of where they are. So I'm going to do that from the list view, agenda list view. And I am going to go to next week. And here are all the assignments for next week. So let's say Campbell is sick on Monday, and I just need to shift everything forward a day. All I have to do is select everything, select all, and then choose action, reschedule. And I'm going to change the start date from Monday to Tuesday. Okay. And then I'm going to continue to preview. So now you'll see that this assignment, existing date is Monday, new date is Tuesday. Existing date Monday, new date Tuesday. Down here, existing date Tuesday, new date Wednesday. And all the way at the bottom, existing date Friday, new date Monday. Okay. So I'm going to select all of these and then choose accept. And what it does is it basically just moves them all forward one day. So that's easiest to see from the calendar. So let me just go back to that. So now you can see Campbell was sick on Monday. We cleared her whole day. We moved everything forward one day. And now it goes into the next week. So this is another kind of great reason why we don't recommend scheduling your entire year in advance, right? Only schedule a week or two in advance, because if you need to miss a day and you had to push an entire year's worth of assignments forward a day, it would just be crazy. You could do it. You could absolutely do it, but there's no reason to. It's much easier and much more flexible to kind of just work with 45 or 100 assignments at once rather than literally thousands, right? So that's how you would move everything forward one day. So hopefully that answers your question, Eliza. Lynn is asking, somehow my attendance is marked complete for the whole year. How can I uncheck it? Somehow my attendance is marked complete for the whole year. So it sounds like you have attendance records already set up for your entire year. How would you uncheck it? Basically, what you want to do is you want to delete those attendance records. That's another great use of the agenda list view. And this is where those filters can be really powerful. Okay, so let's say I don't have a ton of it. Well, let me just do it. So I'm going to select all of these items here, and I'm going to choose multi-edit. And I'm going to mark all of these complete. Okay, so I'm just doing this as an example because it's going to create a bunch of attendance records for me. Well, actually, it's going to create 5 of them, really, because there's only 5 days here. So how do I delete these attendance records? Well, I need to view them first, right? Right now, they're kind of intertwined in terms of all of these other things. So it'd be difficult. I'd have to, click on this one and then find the next one. And, Lynn's talking about an entire year, right? So I'd have to go find a bunch of these. So rather than do that, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to choose types. And so rather than see everything, I only want to see attendance. Okay. So here they are, much easier. Now I can just select all of them. And in your case, Lynn, it'll be 100 of them or however many, right? Select all of them. And now I can just choose action, delete. And then they're gone. So that's how you would delete more than one thing at a time. So hopefully that answers your question, Lynn. Liz is asking, is there student access? And if so, what's their view? Great question, Liz. So yes, there is student access. From the main menu, you'll want to go to subscription and users, okay? So within subscription and users, this kind of sets up your subscription status and everything. But below that are your user accounts. So what it does is it shows you all of your students or teachers that you have and whether or not they have a user account set up for them. So you'll notice that Campbell here, she already has a username. It's Campbell Test. Manning, my son, he does not have a username, so I have not set up a user account for him. So if you have students in here, they'll be listed here, but if you haven't set up a user account, they won't have a username yet. To create one, you simply need to double click on their name and then choose active and then create a username and password for them. Okay. I'm going to open up Campbell here so you can see it. Now, once you've done that, you can set up their permissions, okay? So you can choose what they're able to view, what they're able to edit, all of those things. So right now, I've unchecked literally everything for Campbell just to show you as an example of what it looks like. But if you wanted her to be able to, edit appointments and chores or whatever it might be, you could set those things up. So let's go ahead and let me log in. Oh, excuse me. I have to log out first. I'm going to log out, and I'm going to log in as Campbell Test. Okay, so here we go. I'm logged in as Campbell, who's a student. And first off, the menu looks very different, right? She only has access to a few things. And if I go to the calendar view, you'll notice that, let me just see something. First off, if she tries to view other students, she can't. She can only view her own stuff, which is great. You'll also notice that, let me just go to next week. If I open one of these things and go to more, I can see everything, but I can't edit anything. I can't change anything, okay? And that's because I've restricted her permissions. The one thing that she can do in this case is check this box for student complete. And that's a really cool feature if you want to give your student access to Homeschool Tracker in this regard. And this is kind of how the whole program is designed, right? Give your student a login, they log in, they see all the work they need to do, they do it, and then they mark it complete, save it. And then from your end, in your account, you see the things that they've marked complete, and that's kind of your kind of inbox, right, of the things that you need to look at. Because if they've marked something complete, that means they're basically saying, hey, I finished this assignment, go take a look at it, and you can look at it. And then when you mark it complete as a teacher, that's when it really gets recorded, right? So this is essentially what a student view looks like, and it will vary, depending on those different permissions that we've enabled. So hopefully that answers your question, Liz. Eliza's asking, what does spread evenly mean? How is that different than daily? Sure. No problem. Good question. Let me log back in. So Eliza's asking, what does spread evenly mean, and how is that different than daily? So let me show you where you might find that. Oh, let's see. I forgot we had turned off all these things. I'm going to turn these back on here. So let me go ahead and I'll choose add assignment multiple. And let's just go ahead and pick a few things here. And I'm going to continue to day and date. And what Eliza's asking is these different day options here. So right now it's selected for a preset. You can choose daily, weekly, monthly, or spread evenly. What spread evenly does is it literally spreads the assignments evenly between two dates. So if you have, say, for example, 5 assignments that you're creating and you have a date range of 5 days, it will put 1 on each day. Okay, so that's like a very basic example. If you have 10 assignments and you have 5 days, it'll put 2 on each day, right? If you have 10 assignments and you have 30 days, it'll spread those evenly across those 30 days. So that's all it really means. But let me just show you an example here. So let's have this start on it's a much better example when you have like a lot of items. But let me just go ahead and choose the 25th, and we'll go to the 29th. So for that following week, and we'll go to PLC, and I'm just going to choose page 12. And so the number of copies, let's say it's 10 copies. So if I'm making 10 copies, that means I'm creating 10 assignments, and the date range I gave was 5 days, right? So if I go to continue to preview, you'll notice that it's putting 2 assignments on each day because it needs to fit all 10 of those assignments in the span of 5 days. Okay. Let me go ahead and change that real quick to 3 copies and return to preview. Now it's spreading it evenly Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. So kind of spreading it evenly, but you know what I mean? It's hard to spread 3 things across 5 days. If I choose 30, it's going to put 5, I think, right? 6 assignments on each day over the course of 5 days. So that's what spread evenly means. It's much more, this example is tough, but if you have like an entire month and you just know that you want to complete, this is a kind of a real world example, right? Let's say you have a lesson plan and there are 10 lessons left in the lesson plan and you have a month left of school. You don't really care when you do it, but you just know you want to finish those 10 in the next month. You can just select those 10 and spread them evenly across the next 30 days or next month, and it'll just drop them wherever it can find a spot, and you're good to go. So hopefully that answers your question, Liza. Okay. Any other questions out there? These are all really great questions. Thank you guys for keeping me on my toes. Again, just to bring it back to a bit of housekeeping, we are recording this, and so we will send the recording out to each of you when it's available. Oh, the other thing, we do this for all of our folks that attend the webinars, is we will credit your account with a free month of Homeschool Tracker, because we know what it takes to stay up late on a Tuesday, right, and learn about this. And we also know that when you attend one of these webinars, you're generally way more successful with Homeschool Tracker, right? And so as a token of our appreciation for you being willing to stay up with us and learn about this, we will credit your account with a free month of Homeschool Tracker. Tiffany's asking, where do you set the hours for your school day? Great question, Tiffany. So if you go to your program options right here, under the agenda tab, you can set your school day start time and your school day end time. So if you remember, mine is set from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. You can choose what you would like there. There's a lot of other options here too. So feel free to explore these and kind of test them out, see what they do. The optional fields tab here, this is where you will turn on and off different fields that are available to you. And also by doing that, you will enable other reports. So like, for example, if I turned off the activity field, my activities report would go away. With that on, it would be enabled. If I turned off resources, then of course the resources report would go away. So depending on what you have turned on and off here will also determine the reports that are available to you. Okay. I think we are wrapping up then. Thank you again for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. And like I mentioned, we will pull a report to see everybody that attended tonight. We'll go through and credit your account with a free month of Homeschool Tracker. If you're not currently a customer, we'll reach out to you and get you set up with a free month as well. So with that, I think I'll go ahead and wrap things up. And like I mentioned, if you have any other questions in the future, don't hesitate to reach out and email us at support@homeschooltracker.com. We love getting your questions, and we would love to help you along the way. So that's it for now. Thanks so much for joining us, and we will see you again real soon. All right. Take care. Bye now.